Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on Activision is failing the Call of Duty franchise. And this time, we're going to be talking about how Activision is trying to do some form of damage control when it comes to toxic behavior in Call of Duty. Now, it just seems like every single month now, there's just always something new about Call of Duty every time I log in to check to see what this dumpster fire of a franchise is becoming and how much it's fallen from grace. And now we got another piece of information that some of you folks may be interested in. Now, obviously, there have been a lot of people that have reported on this story, and I know I'm late to the party on this subject, like always. I don't know why. It's just, I guess, a thing that I'm just always late to the party on, apparently, when it comes to these subjects. But the point is that I'm still here to report on it as best as I can, and I still want to talk about it personally because I still think that this is something that does need to be addressed. Now, before we do get on with this topic, I do want to make this clear that Call of Duty, it is known to be one of the most toxic video games probably in the entire world, and it's honestly probably number one on the most toxicity list for being the most toxic game out there. And I hate to break it to a lot of you people, but toxicity in video games, it's just something that's not gonna go away, no matter how much you hate it or like it. It's toxicity is gonna stay here regardless. In Call of Duty, it is very notorious for being the most toxic game out there, next to Pokemon. So Activision apparently has some kind of programming in their game for Call of Duty that detects toxic behavior. I think it's like an AI voice chat moderation. I could be wrong about that part, but apparently there is a voice chat moderation going on within Call of Duty to make sure that people are not being too toxic or too mean to each other because Activision is trying to make Call of Duty a more peaceful game. But in reality, you got people over here swearing at each other left and right, and they're just saying the most outlandish things to people. And let's just say if you're playing a casual game of Call of Duty and you're 2 and 10 on the leaderboards and someone on your team just tells you, "Oh, hey, you fucking suck at the game. Get good, scrub." And then the programming will apparently give you like some form of a soft ban, if not a perma ban at worst, because you're being quote unquote too toxic. But in reality, that's just like standard conversation for literally the entire Call of Duty community. I think that anyone with a brain can clearly see that this is just normal behavior for people in Call of Duty. And if you ask me personally, what Activision is trying to do, it's just not gonna work. I mean, like I've already said, like you can't get rid of toxicity. Now, I get it, it can be a bit of a problem if it's not addressed properly, but let's be real for a second. Who is going to really report toxic behavior in video games? Like, if you get offended over a Call of Duty game because someone said, "Oh my god, this person's being a big meanie because they told me I suck at a video game," then I'm not trying to be that guy or anything, but if you get easily offended over a Call of Duty game, then Call of Duty is just not the game for you. I'm sorry, but if you're one of those soft people that get offended easily over a video game like Call of Duty, then Call of Duty, it's just not the game for you. But with all seriousness, like again, like I've already said, I get it. Toxicity, it can be a bit of a problem if it's not properly addressed. I understand that, but I hope you know there are other ways that you can easily counter this kind of behavior. I don't know if most of you folks know about this. Lord knows game developers apparently even forgot about this, but I don't know if some of you folks know, but there's a feature in these games called the mute button. And I know, it sounds like such an ancient relic of the past or something because nobody ever uses it. But there's a thing called the mute button where you can just go to the person's username and then you can press that mute option on there and then you don't have to hear that person's voice. So if someone's trying to be toxic as hell, or if they're just annoying you when you're just trying to play the game, you can just press the mute button and you can just go on with your merry day. I mean, it's easy as that. If you don't want to listen to the person, just press the mute button. There you go. Toxicity has been averted. Free advice to you. Use the mute button. There you go, my friends. Literally free advice. Toxicity has been countered. We did it, everybody. We counter toxicity. Not really. I just wanted to be a smartass there for a second. No, but on a more serious note, it just seems like people have forgotten about the mute feature in the game, and apparently no one really uses it anymore. Now, of course, this issue has gotten out of control apparently for Call of Duty. Apparently, now there's even an article addressing the problem, or if not, even talking about the problem. I don't know why I said addressing. I meant to say talking about the problem. So, this article does come from GameSpot.com. I am going to read it to you all, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions on this after. If you want to read the article for yourself, I will leave a link in the description down below so you folks can go check it out and read it for yourself if you want. Now, I don't know why, but I just have been forgetting to leave the link to the articles lately, so that one's on me. So I'm going to read the article for you folks. So this is what it says. Activision shared some findings from the voice moderation program so far. The company said only 1/5 users reported toxic speech, meaning that's 20%. But I digress. When its own system detected it, which Activision said was unfortunate, Activision can take action without players reporting bad speech, but direct player reporting remains critical to the system working best it can, the company says. But this goes back to what I said earlier. Who really reports toxic behavior in video games? But let's continue. To encourage more reporting, we rolled out messages to thank players for reporting, and in the future, we're looking to provide additional feedback to players when we acted on their reports, Activision says. BS! Sorry, I coughed. Not really, but let's continue. Since the voice chat moderation system debuted, Activision said Call of Duty games using the program have seen 8% reduction in repeat offenders. Additionally, Activision reported there was about 50% reduction in players being exposed to severe instances of toxic chat since Modern Warfare 3 launched last year. Players detected to being using offensive speech could have their voice chat muted along with other penalties like restrictions of certain social features and inability to use the chat. And of course, it does continue on, but for the sake of this video, I do want to wrap this article up. So, pretty much, to wrap this whole thing up, Activision is failing at controlling toxic behavior in their video games because, as it says in the article, only 1/5 of players, meaning 20%, have reported toxic behaviors, and that could just be either people actually taking it seriously, or it could just be people screwing with each other, just doing it for the laughs just to see if it actually goes through, or people could be doing it as a troll just to see if it actually works or not. But unfortunately, like the article said, only 20% of people have used it, and Activision is trying to treat it like if it's a bad thing. Like, oh, this is just unfortunate how people are not reporting more toxic behavior to us. Maybe it's probably because the franchise is such a pile of dog crap, nobody gives a damn. I mean, seriously, it's Call of Duty at the end of the day. Nobody's gonna really report this kind of behavior to Activision. And if they do, they're just doing it just to troll with people. And the better option, if you don't want to deal with toxicity, you can just mute the person that's being toxic. And there you go. You don't have to deal with that nonsense anymore. So, with that being said, thank you everyone for watching and for listening. And until next time, I'm talking about how Activision is failing at damage control when it comes to toxicity, and I'll see you all later.